All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, to Living with Audacity. I am your wonderful host, your podcaster, Aisha, and it is such a pleasure to be back. I hope that you have already subscribed. And if you haven't, you know what you need to do. Become a subscriber so that you can become one of many individuals who's going to be on this journey of audacity with me. So last week, our first episode, I talked about my journey. I talked about, what it meant to be audacious and just really how I've come to a place where I am unruffled, unbothered, and unapologetic. And when the weather gets better, I'm actually going to show you because on my 43rd birthday, I actually got a tattoo that says unapologetically moi, because I have reached a point in my life where I'm unapologetic. Like, this is what you're going to get. The good, the bad, the cute, the ugly. Well, actually, I'm not ugly. I'm not going to put that out there because there's nothing ugly about me. But the cute, maybe a little bit of the shadow. But again, this podcast is here to just inspire you and empower you to be your best self, to really step into your greatness, to be affirmed and confirmed in who you are. And so today's topic is a really important one. Much of the things that I'm going to be bringing forward in this podcast, as I said, isn't just pulled off the top of my head. It's based on lived experience. It's based on my coaching practice, but it's also based on the things or the questions that people have asked me over the course of the almost 6 years that I've been running Me to Moi. And today's conversation is going to be about breaking free from limited mindsets. So this is a really powerful one. And I say that because, listen, systems, structures out here are doing what they're doing. We ultimately don't have control around systems and structures, but what we have control over is how we allow those systems and structures to impact us, how we allow those systems and structures to penetrate our mindset into believing that we aren't ready, that it's not our time, that we're not deserving, that we're not worthy of. And as I share, I am sharing things about places that I have been, that I am no longer. And my whole desire of this podcast is just to impart those gems that maybe not everything resonates with you, right? Like, not everything is meant for at this time, but hopefully you go back and you realize Aisha said something a little while ago, and I want to go back because I'm now in a place where, again, I'm unwilling to allow people's narratives, limited mindsets, their expectations and assumptions about who I'm supposed to be to cloud who I know I am. And so today's topic, as I said, is about limited mindsets. And because I want to stay on topic, I have my little notes here with me. So I will be looking down from time to time, but it's to make sure that I just hit those points. So, of course, what is a limited mindset, right? So a limited mindset is absolutely a mindset where we believe that we aren't prepared, that we aren't ready, that we aren't worthy, that we haven't done enough schooling or don't have enough experience in whatever it is that we're desiring to do, right? It's a consistent mantra that says, okay, maybe if I do a little bit more, if I work a little bit harder, if I do another class, if I do another course, if I get another certification, if I get another degree, if I just show people that I am worthy of this next step, then I'm going to get what I know I already deserve. Many issues with that, many challenges. Let me not say issues, many challenges with that. The limited mindset can actually be your number one barrier to being in a place that you should already be in, to being in places that you already deserve to be in. And as I said, I am talking from a place of experience because I was someone for many, many years waited for someone to tap me on the shoulder and say, Aisha, you've really shown yourself. You've really proven yourself to be ready, and it's time for you to move forward. And as I shared with you in my very first episode, nothing happened. Nothing happened because if I am waiting for other people who are operating with a limited mindset to believe me to be ready than them, you know what that head shake means? It means you're waiting forever, right? And so we have to think about, how does this belief, right? How does this limited mindset, how does it shape our lives? How has it been shaping your lives? I also want to remind you that if you're subscribed to this channel, this isn't just a one-way conversation. So obviously it's a one-way conversation because I can't see anybody that I'm talking to, but I want you to feel free to chime in. I want to hear your perspective. I want to hear all the ways in which you have either actively moved through limited mindsets, or if you're in that place right now, how do you want to get past that? How do you want to ensure that you're not allowing this limited mindset to keep you stuck and trapped in a place that you are not deserving? So let's talk about one of the subtle ways. Like, what are some of the subtle ways in which limited mindset can be operating? Because sometimes it's not just this big voice in our head that says, no, 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 like this isn't it. Like, you're not ready. This is not the time. And I also just want to offer a little side note. Sometimes we aren't ready. Like sometimes there is a little bit more work that needs to go behind. But what I'm talking about is getting to a place where we stay stuck in a belief that we actually aren't not just ready, but we're also not deserving, right? So what are the subtle ways in which we can show up or see that a limited mindset is happening? So who's ever heard themselves say, you know what? I just need to prove a little bit more that I'm ready to take on. I'm going to use a job as an example, that I'm ready to take on this new level of management or take on this new project. I just need to prove a little bit more because I don't have all the years of service, or I haven't exactly done what they're looking for, or, somebody next to me has more years of experience. Listen, if we were to fully operate with the mindset or belief that with a little bit more time we'll be ready, you know what's going to happen? Nothing. We will stay in that mindset. We have to believe that we are prepared and that we're ready, right? That we have an understanding that sure, when we enter into something new, is it going to be difficult? Absolutely. Are we going to struggle? More than likely, because that's just life. Anything that we've achieved in life hasn't been linear. But please understand that if we are operating with a mindset that says we aren't ready, we will never be ready. Be willing to take a risk on yourself. Because you know what's something that I've realized in my own personal journey? The truth is, we will actually never fail ourselves. We will actually never fail ourselves. We might not make the best decisions. We might not make the perfect decisions. But if we love ourselves and value ourselves enough, we actually will never direct ourselves in the completely wrong direction, right? Now, there might be people who are like, listen, I have made some decisions in my life that I know were wrong. So have I. I've absolutely made wrong decisions. I've absolutely made wrong turns. But you know what? I didn't actually fail myself. What I ended up doing was doubting myself. I went the wrong way or made the wrong decision or didn't take that leap of faith because I doubted that I had the ability to do or to achieve or to accomplish. I allowed that limited belief. I allowed that narrative, that assumption, that expectation that I hadn't done all the things that I needed to do, that I didn't have all the years of experience, that I didn't, just all the things I didn't. And so it stopped me from doing. It stopped me from mobilizing. It stopped me from believing that I was prepared to take on this new task, this new challenge. And so there's been a lot of time in my life that I've wasted, right? There's been a lot of things that I realize now could have been so much further in my life had I just believed that I could and that I was ready. And so some of the kind of, let me just throw out some of the language, right? Some of the language or some of the things that we share or that we tell ourselves when we're operating in this limited belief are, I'm not good enough. That's a huge one. I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. One that I have heard, actually, even as a coach, is success isn't meant for me, Aisha, right? Success is for other people. How? How can we see ourselves not being deserving of success? Because I'm also going to say success is subjective. So that's a different conversation that we're going to have at some point. Success is completely subjective. But how could you actually say to yourself, I don't deserve success? Another one is, I failed. It didn't work out. So I don't even know why I'm going to bother. Again, another topic that we're really going to dive into because I have a very different perspective when it comes to failure. Failure being a beautiful opportunity to course correct and to actually determine if, in fact, what we thought we were supposed to do is what we were supposed to do and not what we thought we had to do. Different topics. Stay tuned for that episode. But I've also heard that, like, I failed, so why am I even going to bother? Those things that we tell ourselves even once can operate as the biggest barrier the biggest challenge, the biggest stagnation in our mobilization to the next step, right? So what are the things that we can do? Because again, this podcast isn't just about me telling you about the obvious things that can and cannot happen or that are reality. It's also about finding ways that we can actually move past it, that we can move forward, that we can realize that we are finding ourselves in a place and space that isn't conducive to our growth, that isn't conducive to our elevation. And how do we challenge that? How do we trick our mind, sometimes temporarily, to believe otherwise, right? So one of the things that I think is really important to do, so I'm a writer, and when I say writer, I don't mean I have written a book, so maybe I'm a writer in that sense, but I'm someone that likes to actually take notes. I still have an agenda, and even though my children are like, you need to put things in your phone, I have agendas. But one of the things that you need to do is actually write out the negative BS things that you tell yourself. And I chuckled to myself in my head because, again, when I'm doing coaching or when I'm working with clients, people are always like, Aisha, I don't want to journal and I don't want to write it down. And when you ask them why, they're like, well, because if I write it down, it's true. Our ability to, this is not a word, it's just a word that I've made up, to Johnny Cochranize the things in our head to rationalize our continuation of a limited mindset is a danger. But when you write it down and you're now forced to look at it, it's real. If you write down all the things, the negative things, the limited things that you say about yourself, you are forced to confront why it is that you are telling yourself these things. That is the first, it's not even a trick. It is a full-on tip. If you recognize that you are someone who speaks negatively about yourself, who devalues what you bring to the table, who believes themselves not to be worthy of next great things, write it down and then read it back to you. And if you're willing to be even braver, have somebody read back to you what you tell yourself. Because I'm going to tell you this, when you hear out loud the things that you say about yourself to yourself, it should make you shudder. Because if it's not things that you would tell someone that you love, someone that you care about, someone that you're supporting, then please explain to me why it is with comfort that you say those things to yourself. Please. Right? I'm not sharing anything new. Like I'm not here to hopefully I'm here to earth shatter. Hopefully I'm here to disrupt, again, a status quo of where you're staying stuck and not valuing yourself. But I want you to think about that. The things that you say to yourself, the limited beliefs that you say, would you ever say to your kids? Would you say to your partner? Would you say to your best friend? Would you say, no, you're not ready for that? No, I don't think you have the skill. I don't think you have the experience. I don't think you have the time. I definitely don't think you should go that route. Would you tell that to someone that you genuinely love and care about? You wouldn't. You probably wouldn't dare utter those words because you're all about hype. You're all about empowerment. You're all about, ensuring that the people that in your life know how much you value and that they're worth. Why would you so comfortably say it to yourself? So that's the first tip, is write it down, read it. And again, if you're willing to really unpack, let somebody in your life who you value read it back to you and think about how it feels. Think about how you are diminishing yourself with a limited belief that you aren't ready and that you're not worthy and that you're not prepared. Another thing that you could do is even challenging this narrative. Like, where did it come from? Right? Where did this limited mindset come from? Because we didn't actually wake up. If you think about when you're a child, right? Children think they can do everything. Literally everything. Like, this is why they also get frustrated when you're like, no, you can't do that. What do? They absolutely rage because they operate with a belief that, why can't I? I mean, if it's out there, then it's for me to try. And if I fail, then I'm going to try again. Right? Think about how we rear our children or the people that are small in our life if you don't have children. What do? We encourage them to keep getting up, keep trying. Oh, you're trying to walk, you fell, get up. And then somewhere in the development of self, somewhere in adulthood, we actually do the opposite. And we say to ourselves, oh, no. You need to sit down. Oh, no. You're not ready for this. Oh, no, you don't have the tools to make sure that you're going to be successful. Right? We actually do the opposite. So I want you to think about, how do you challenge that? How do you challenge yourself and say, like, why would I even be telling myself that I can't? Right? Maybe there are circumstances where it's going to make it difficult, sure. But have we achieved anything in life? Have you achieved anything in life? Because I know I haven't. In a scenario where it's been linear? Nope. I have not done anything that has been worth in my life without there being a challenge. And again, when I say challenge, I don't necessarily mean negative. I just mean, stepping stones where, again, I had to really think and be intentional about the steps that I was taking so that there was a successful outcome. But it didn't come easy, right? So I need you to think about, how are you going to challenge that narrative? What are you going to do? And it isn't for someone to be the one to always challenge that narrative. We have to be able to challenge that ourselves. Because that's also something that I see a lot in as a coach, that people want, I'll use myself as an example, they want me as a coach to continue to hold them accountable for the things that they do that are not good for them. I can do that, sure. But what happens when I leave you? I don't live with you 24/7, nor is it my responsibility to ensure that you understand how great you are. That is for you, right? Episode 1, what did I share? What did I say? What is one of my number one mantras? No one is responsible for cueing you into your greatness. That is for you. If we are always reliant on other people to big us up, to hype us up, to remind us of our worth, then we aren't doing our own personal work, right? Sure, have people in your life that are going to be your hype people. Yeah, I mean, everybody needs that. I love that, right? I love when people are like, Aisha, you're doing such a great job. You look good. I appreciate that deeply. But I appreciate it more because I'm also aware of the intentionality of which I am operating with life. From how I eat, to how I sleep, to who I allow in my life, to the ways in which I mother, I wife, I take care. I do it with intention, right? So there's nothing wrong with receiving those accolades, for people being able to see all the great work that we do. But if, again, you are needing people in your life to challenge the limited mindset that you have about yourself, then we do stay stuck. Right? So be willing to do that. Be willing to challenge what it is that you tell yourself. Another one that we can do is kind of countering the negativity, which seems easier said than done. But again, I talked just 2 seconds ago about being intentional, right? The things that are worth experiencing, doing, living for, moving forward through is all about being intentional, right? So if I desire to be better, to feel better, then I have to be intentional about those things, right? And having that limited mindset doesn't support that at all. And so, fine, we've now recognized that perhaps we are operating with a limited mindset, that it is negatively impacting our lives, that it is not allowing us to show up as our true, authentic, unapologetic, unruffled self. So what are we going to do? How are we going to rewrite this narrative? And again, this isn't black and white. Like, you don't just decide, okay, you know what? I'm over it. I'm done with the negative, narration. I'm done with the limited mindset. I'm over it. If that were the case, I mean, coaches wouldn't exist and you wouldn't have this challenge or this hurdle to get past. But the truth is, this is work, and it's deep work. And sometimes it's the work that we don't want to do, but it's the work that we have to do. Right? It's the work that we have to do. In order for us to get to a place or to move in the direction of being affirmed and confirmed in who we are. And I don't know if you notice, I realize I'm just watching myself, but when I say affirmed and confirmed, I almost raise my body, because it is a state of not just mind, it is a state of being. Right? Not to go off topic, but one of the coolest things I have the privilege of seeing when I'm coaching is watching someone start with me where they're like this, where they talk, okay, Aisha, these are the things that I need to do. These are the places that I want to be. And as they start to emancipate themselves from that limited mindset, from that narrative of which has no longer served them or is not serving them, their body changes, their posture changes, the way they sit, the way they talk, the way they think about themselves changes. It is probably one of the coolest, greatest privileges that I get as a coach, is to watch someone go through this rewriting of this narrative. And so what does that look like, right? What does it mean to rewrite a narrative that you now understand has not been serving you, right? And so part of this is about reframing, right? Not erasing. It is about reframing our negative thoughts. Again, similar to the concept around failure and only seeing failure as a negative, reframing our thoughts around these limited mindsets is doing a deeper dive around the things that we believe to be true about us that aren't. I'll give you an example. So if I believed that starting a business was going to be a detriment to my well-being, or was going to be a detriment to my ability to continue to be a good mother or a good wife or to work full time, I would have stopped. I wouldn't have created Me to Moi, right? And I had that thought. Let me just tell you again, I didn't just start Me to Moi full gusto. Like prior to me starting it, I had all of these thoughts like, can I really do it? Who am I to start a business? Who am I to be a coach? That was a big one. I mean, I did the certification, and when they were like, all right, go out there and coach. And I was like, who am I? Like, why would somebody hire me to help them with their life? I couldn't reconcile. And so I had to reframe that conversation with myself. I had to reframe the understanding that I had a gift, right? That prior to me becoming a certified coach, I had been coaching. I used to have friends that are like, Aisha, I don't understand why you don't do this professionally, because you're always out here elevating and empowering and inspiring. Stop giving it for free. Turn it into a business. And even though I had people in my corner who said that before I had the thought, that self-doubt, that negative narrative played hard. And so then I had to reframe that. I had to reframe the understanding around what was I fearing. Was the negative narrative really about the fact that I didn't have the skill or that I wasn't ready? Or was reframing this narrative that I wasn't ready really about the fact that I was just uncomfortable with a gift that I knew I possessed? Because that's where that limited mindset can come from a lot of times, right? That we recognize we have a strength, we have a gift, regardless of what it is, regardless of what that gift is. That we are uncomfortable showing up in a world or in the world fully in the bask of our gift, for fear that other people will be like, well, who is she? Who does she think she is to coach? Or who does she think she is to be an author or to be a writer or to be a singer or to be whatever it is? And that list goes on. Whoever she thinks she is to be, fill in the blanks. That's where that limited mindset comes. Right? Is the discomfort or the risk of feeling like others don't see us worthy of. And so I go back to how I kind of started this podcast, in that if we place our value and our worth in the hands of others always, then yeah, we'll stay in that place. Because someone with a limited mindset about themselves is never going to see you above them. They can't. They're limited in their mindset. Right? And again, as I shared in the first podcast, right? Someone's maximum view of you, someone's maximum view of your worth could actually be just your baseline. So imagine not imparting your gift, your purpose, your power on the world because you were waiting for someone who thought you had hit your peak to be that measuring stick, when in fact you hadn't even started. Right? Lesson. Let me be the first to say, hi, my name is Aisha, and I was a victim of allowing other people's limited mindset to determine when I was ready to do something or how I showed up. I allowed the narration. I allowed people's expectations and assumptions about me to consume me to the point that I stayed stagnant until I couldn't do it anymore. And I couldn't do it anymore because I was now in a place where I didn't believe it. Many circumstances arose in order to bring me to that place. But when I hit that place where I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that I've been sitting here waiting and desiring for others to tap me on my shoulder. Again, time was wasted, but what I will tell you is I learned some of the greatest lessons of my life, and you can be rest assured, or you can be rest assured, that's probably not proper English. Rest assured that I will never find myself back in that place again. Right? So again, how do we reframe? And again, part of the reframing of this narrative is about believing and understanding and getting comfortable with our gifts, right? So, of course, because this podcast isn't just about me sharing, but also about helping you understand what are the ways, right? What are the ways that we can counter or defeat or fully bulldoze through the things that don't allow us to be authentic and unapologetic and unruffled? And so one of the practical things that we can start to do, around breaking and emancipating. Okay, I need you to sit with that word, because emancipation holds a lot of significance for me, because emancipation means that you are fully letting go. But the ways in which we can start to emancipate ourselves from these chains, right, that are holding us hostage. One of them is, and again, this might be cliche and not a lot of us do this, and it's only something that I started doing, I'd say probably in the last 2 years, is affirmations, right? Sometimes you got to say it till you believe it. That is fact, right? An affirmation doesn't come from the original place of believing it to be true. Sometimes we got to work our way to that. But being able to look in the mirror and say to yourself, I am worthy. And not meaning it just from a words perspective, but from a whole, from your gut. Because when I say it now, I am worthy, I say it, as you can see, with a little smirk, with a little bravado, because I believe it to such a degree that nobody can tell me otherwise. But 7, 8, 9 years ago, I would have been easily challenged out of this narrative. I would have been easily persuaded to think otherwise or to not believe it to be true. But it has been through the work of affirmations, of believing that I was worthy, of knowing that I was worthy. Forget about even believing, of knowing that I was worthy, that I had purpose, that I had a gift, that I've now come to a place where, as I said, you can say all the things that you want to say. Am I the best? Absolutely not. I would never coin myself as being the best. But do I have a gift? Yes, I do. Am I great at what I do? Absolutely. Am I comfortable in a space to say that? 100%. Unruffled and unbothered. So something else is gratitude. So this is a big one for me, okay? Anyone who's ever done a workshop with me, I always do a gratitude practice. And so I will say to people, I want you to tell me, what are the things that you're grateful for? People will say, I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for my health, my job, my life. All amazing things. Those are all important things to be grateful for. But if we're going to counter the negative impact of limited mindset, then I'm going to ask you to please ensure that in that gratitude work, you put yourself at the top of that list. That you understand that gratitude must come to self first. That all the things that you're grateful for, I'm grateful that I have kids who love me, who care for me. I'm grateful that I have a partner, that I have family, I have siblings who care for me. Those are all wonderful things, but I need you to take a step back and understand that the reason why you are receiving, the reason why you feel grateful to these individuals, these people, is because of you. You are the conduit to which these individuals feel love. They feel special. They feel welcome. They feel supported. And as such, they're reciprocating to you what it is that you give to them. And if you do not see yourselves, if you do not hold yourself at the centrality, I don't even know if that's a word. I'm going to be honest. If there's English majors in here, feel free to correct me, because even though I'm good in English, I do have a tendency to make up words. So maybe centrality is not the word, or not the right way to use it. I don't want to get off topic, but I just need to offer that caveat that I will probably say a lot of things that are slightly made up. But if you don't give yourself grace, if you don't show yourself love and gratitude, then we are still going to struggle with that limited mindset, right? So in your gratitude practice, I urge you, include yourself. And when I say include yourself, I don't mean include yourself in the laundry list. Put yourself at the top of that list. Be grateful for yourself. Because the truth is, we create the conditions by which people treat us, right? If people recognize that I don't love myself, that I don't treat myself well, that I don't have gratitude for myself, why would I expect someone to treat me differently? Why would I expect them to treat me at a high level if I'm coming at myself, if I treat myself at a low level? We set the conditions by which people treat us. And being grateful for yourself is what sets the tone for people to understand the ways in which they can approach you. Now, does it mean that they're not going to tell you negative things? Of course not, right? Like, people can say what they want to say. But how you allow what they're saying to impact you is where you have control over. And when you're grateful for yourself, how you show up as a friend, how you show up as a partner, how you show up as a coworker, how you show up in all the hats that you wear. If you are showing up from a place of gratitude for self, it makes it really difficult, for those limited mindsets to supersede and overpower. But it also lets people know, oh, okay, she's got high regard for herself. I gotta be mindful around how I approach, right? So that's another really important way around reframing these limited mindsets about ourselves. What's another way? Again, I'm going to actually read to you. So you can create a list of empowering beliefs and read them out loud. Again, I know people that do that like every morning as they're brushing their teeth, right? They almost have a sticky that's on their window or on their mirror, of things that they say to themselves about themselves, right? Like same way we might take a protein shake, same way we got to have our coffee, the same way we got to insert that positive energy and that vibe into ourselves. Surround yourself with positive people, right? Misery likes company. Remember that, right? But joy also likes good company. Be sure to surround yourself with people that are here to uplift you and love you and support you, hold you accountable, because that is also a sign of love. And don't allow you to stay in a space where you are negatively speaking about yourself. Keep a journal, right? So I love to journal. I've been journaling since I was 13. I go back to my journals from when I was 13 thinking that what I was writing then was crisis or was hardship. And I guess at the time it was, because again, I was 13. But being able to keep, sometimes what I call a growth journal, because who you are today is not who you're going to be 6 weeks from now, a year from now, 3 years from now. How cool would it be to be able to take a timestamp of place and space where you're at right now within your mindset, and being able a year from now, after you've done all this work, after you've worked diligently and hard to change, that you now get to see from where you came from. What an absolute gift, right? So those are some of the things that you can start to do when it comes to, just exploring all the ways that you can counter this limited mindset. So I actually have a takeaway challenge, and I'm going to ask you, because you're subscribing and I know that, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to give you a challenge. I want you to reflect on a limited belief that overwhelms you, that penetrates your mind, that every time you're about to do something new, every time you're about to step into your greatness, you're like, oh, you kind of go back into that shell. I want you to reflect on a belief that you've been holding on to, whether it's been for comfort, because sometimes we do that as well. And I want you to counter that. I want you to share what that belief is, and I want you to talk about what you're going to do to counter that. What is the reframe, or how you're going to reframe that negative mindset? If you're willing to share it, this is not something that I'm going to share out loud, but I think sometimes part of this journey is also about being accountable to others. And I am here to lovingly hold people accountable. Someone said to me once when I was a coach, they're like, Aisha, you lovingly kick people out of their comfort zone so that they can do better. And I've hung on to that. Yes, that's what I do. I lovingly kick people out of a comfort zone so that they can become their best selves. That's what I do. So if you are really desiring to get and step into a space where you're tired of this limited mindset, where you're tired of not believing in yourself, where you are tired of staying stuck, then I'm going to ask you to do that. That is your challenge. I want you to shoot me an email or, in the message box of the YouTube channel. You can send me an email also at aisha@metomod.com and say, all right, Aisha, this is what I've been plagued with. This is the limited mindset that I have been trying to fight. And this is the way that I'm going to reframe it for myself. And rest assured, I'm going to hold you accountable. So do not put anything out there that you do not want me to hold you lovingly hold you accountable with. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it because, again, sometimes we just need a little reminder that we are worthy, that we are deserving, that there are people that love us enough to, as I said, kick us out of our comfort zone. Okay. So that is what I'm going to, that is my ask of everyone. That's the challenge that I'm putting out here on this podcast, is to challenge you to identify what this limited belief is and how you're going to reframe that, so that you can now move forward. The last thing that I want to talk about is just this ultimate journey, right, of what life is and how we need to explore and continue to explore ways to counter this limited mindset. Because here's something else I want to share. Even if you move past an existing limited mindset, as you evolve and grow, I want to be very clear that there will be other things that come up. Okay? Even as someone who has done all the work that I've done to date, I would be lying if I said that every once in a while, a little limited mindset pops into my head that kind of causes me to pause, right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But we also have to get comfortable in understanding that A, it's going to happen, but B, we're going to continue the work of transitioning through this limited mindset, right? Because the world deserves the best version of us. Every hat that we wear, everything that we do, we deserve to show up as our best self. And when we operate, as I said, with this limited belief that we aren't ready, we're not good enough, it's not time, I need more experience, we are honestly dishonoring ourselves. That's something that I learned, as I said, the hard way, that we are honestly dishonoring ourselves. When you don't give the world the best version of yourself, and I'm going to tell you, there's nobody here in this space today, there's nobody that is going to watch this YouTube or this episode, this podcast, that has not ever felt a pit in their stomach when they know they're not operating from their best selves. We know that intuitively. So if you know you're not operating as your best self, then I need you to check that limited mindset. I need you to be honest about all the ways in which you are disrespecting and dishonoring yourself, because you have a gift. Whatever that is. I don't know what the gift is. Also, feel free to share what the gifts are, because those gifts sometimes help me. But when we don't show up as our most authentic self, as our most unapologetic self, then we have to be mindful. We have to check the ways in which we're allowing our limited mindset to hold us back, right? Is it pretty work? Nope, not at all. It's hard work. And for many of us, and again, I will say about myself, I have tried to find all the ways in which I could avoid doing the work. But what I realized is that it took more energy to not be my authentic self, to not be my great self, than it did to operate in a limited mindset. And so I had no choice but to just do the work. And kind of bringing this to a close, I want us to think about and really understand all the ways in which we are, and I'm pausing because this is a hard one, right? This is a really difficult one. And I say that because it always brings me back to a place and space where I didn't honor a situation, or I didn't honor a gift, and it was a detriment to myself, because I spent so much time being concerned and worried about how others were going to perceive me. And I had a situation, just very quickly, where I was going for a job. And I think I talked about this, but this is obviously something that still grinds my gears. But I was in a job that I'd been doing for 9 years. And I was great at what I I feel like when I put my mind to it, I'm really good at the things that I put my mind to. And I had dedicated, when I tell you dedicated, like dedicated blood, sweat, and tears time to a job, and had an incredible opportunity to now move forward. Went into the interview, was prepared, and I wouldn't say I thought I was a shoo-in, but I really should have been, if I'm going to be very honest. And the outcome was me being told that I interviewed well, but it wasn't my time, that I wasn't ready, that I needed a little bit more experience. Now, 9 years wasn't enough. I needed a little bit more experience to demonstrate that I would be able to take on this new challenge. The interesting thing is that the individual who they hired had far less experience than I did, but somehow was ready. And I will tell you that that situation for a very long period of time had me believing that, in fact, I wasn't ready, that the degrees, the certification, the 9 years wasn't enough, that I needed to do more, right? That I needed to take on all these extra projects, which I did at no extra cost, as a demonstration of my worthiness. And it resulted in burnout. And while that period of time was really difficult, I'm going to tell you it was the best gift that I could have been given. Because in the midst of my rebuild post a burnout, I had this epiphany, almost like this giant slap in the face, where I was like, Aisha, how could you let someone tell you that all the work that you have done to date, your academic, your professional experience, your lived experience, wasn't worthy enough for this next position, when in fact you were kind of already doing it? It was a big eye opener for me, and it was a game changer, because it was at that moment. I can even remember what I was wearing. I can remember what I was doing. I can remember who I had the conversation with prior to having that moment where I was like, I'm done. I am done allowing others to dictate and to tell me how and when I was worthy to move forward. And it was from that point on that I really took charge and charted my own course. And the irony of it all is that those same people who didn't feel that I was ready for that job are the same people seeking me out now. And if I was petty, and I can be petty, my answer would be, you know what? But the greatest gift that you can give to people, let me take that back. The greatest gift that you can give to yourself is your own recognition that you actually don't need to be petty, that you have now countered someone's limited mindset of you, that you've superseded, that you have moved past their limited mindset to the point that they're now seeking you out, and you are now in a power position to either say yay or nay. So believe yourself to be great enough that somewhere in this trajectory, somewhere in your journey, whether it's with those individuals or in that circumstance where they felt you weren't ready and now you're ready, but believe me when I tell you there is no greater gift that you can give to yourself than realizing that you have shed, that you've emancipated yourself from the chains of other people believing you to be ready. It is the most freeing thing that you can experience in your life. And so I want to walk that journey with you. I want this podcast to be the insertion of those gems that lets you know you are worthy, that you are gifted, that you have purpose, and that you have power. And while you might not have unpacked it and discovered it as yet, at the very least, this woman right here is ready to be your hype person and counter whatever limited mindset and beliefs people have of you. This is my commitment to you. This is what living with audacity is, right? If you're not there yet, you better believe that post these episodes, at the very least, after you finish watching an episode, you're like, you know what? I was not feeling good about myself 30, 20, 40 minutes ago, but now I'm feeling good about myself. That is my commitment to you. And so as we continue on our week, as we continue on lifing, because life is lifing, I want to remind you of this mantra that I'm going to probably say at the end of every single podcast that I do on this space, on this platform, that no one is responsible for cueing you into your greatness. That if you're in a place right now where you are doubting your value, where you're doubting your purpose, you're doubting what it is that you bring to the table, let today be the last time that you sit in this space. Let today be the last time that you feel that you aren't worthy, because you are. Okay? And if you need a hype person, if you need someone, along with, telling me how you do on this challenge, shoot me an email. Aisha@meetomo.com and say, Aisha, I just need you to pour energy into me to remind me that I am worthy, and I will happily do it. I want to wish you all a great rest of your day, whatever it is that you're doing. I want you to subscribe to Living with Audacity. I want you to follow me on Instagram at meetomo.health, because that is where you're going to get your daily dose of this transformative energy. And I want you to stay committed to yourself, right? We are in this for the long haul. And I am grateful to be in a place where I can pour this energy onto you with love, with excitement, with transformation, with energy. And I'll see you next time. Take care.